Good evening, and welcome once again to Act One, a Canadian take on news events. I'm your host, Gordy Canuck, otherwise known as Gordon Causey. That's my real name. This frequent visitor to the live stream is Candy the Wonder Dog. When I go live, if I upload a video, Candy isn't on those. But when I do a live stream, I start out pretty much every single video the same with giving Candy, the Wonder Dog, a treat. She's now 5 years old. I finally got over calling her the Wonder Pup. She came into the family all the way back on March 18th of 2020, which is a day many will remember well. That was pretty much day one of the imposition of lockdowns in 2020 during the start of the COVID nonsense. If you're new to the channel, calling it the COVID nonsense, that should give you a fairly good indication of my take on things, my worldview, for lack of a better expression. Before I can really get rolling, Candy has to jump through some hoops. She has to shake a paw. She has to lay down, and she has to speak. Let's see how she does. Shake a paw. Good. Lay down. Speak. Get down. Speak. Speak. Okay. Pretty good voice tonight. Candy gets a bacon treat. I started using this mug a little more. I hope it shows up correctly on the screen if it's not written backwards. I think it does come out properly. And what it says is current mood, no. Current mood, no. Nope. And that is my reaction to a lot of things now when I look at the news. When my two most recent videos talking about the forest hiking bans that have spread from Nova Scotia. Now they're into New Brunswick. I think something similar is coming, either has come or is coming to Newfoundland. My expectation is that it's moving west. And I think in the coming days, weeks, for the end of the summer, certainly, that it could very well happen in Ontario and Quebec, and maybe Manitoba as well. And as I mentioned in those videos, it will be interesting to see whether, if it does continue to move into other Canadian provinces, and then will Saskatchewan and Alberta fall in line. But that's not the topic of tonight's video. Tonight I'm going to be talking about Sean Feucht. That is how his name is pronounced. If you look at it in the written form, Feucht, you'll be excused for thinking Feucht or Fucked, or I don't know how to pronounce it. And pardon that, that wasn't even an attempt at profanity. I do my best not to swear on this channel. And at any rate, his name could certainly come across that way, but it is actually pronounced Feucht, Foyt. It's pronounced like that. If you're watching the live stream, you are welcome to fill up the live comment field. And likewise, this is an open mic event. I'm going to be doing more of these where you are welcome to join in. And I will share the link once I can get it. I will put it in the live chat. If you do want to join in, I'm going to ask that you shut down YouTube and stick to StreamYard, which is the streaming software I'm using. So I'll ask you to use StreamYard only, because what happens if you're watching it on both StreamYard, which you need to do if you want to come on with your mic and camera, if you have StreamYard open and YouTube, they're not perfectly synced. There's a lag and there's an echo that takes place. So I'll ask you if you want to join in, you're most welcome. Let me see if I can find, there we go. There is the link. I will put it into the live chat. So all you need to do if you want to join in is click on that. You'll then be backstage. I can add you to the stage. And again, I ask that you have obviously a microphone, but also a camera, because it makes interaction easier when you can give visual cues. Sometimes there's sound quality issues I don't hear. I give a little tug at the ear, I do this, and that lets the person know, oh, I didn't hear what you said, say it again, that kind of thing. Visual helps. It's no substitute for live person to person, face to face interaction, but it's better than just having a mic. Okay, so where are we? Before I really get rolling on the news about what happened in Saskatoon, you're welcome to like, you're welcome to subscribe to the channel. I'm miserable and pathetic, as my channel is. I make no bones about it. I do not have a big production budget. I'm a one-man show. Most of my videos, certainly all the live ones, are unscripted. I just wrote down one note. Cynthia Block is the mayor of Saskatoon. I just put that down so that I don't forget. And the other thing I wrote down is August 21. And August 21 is the date coming up when Sean Feucht has a permit to hold a public worship service in the city of Saskatoon, which I believe is the largest city in the province of Saskatchewan. I did a check, and the municipal area, the greater Saskatoon area, has a population of in and around 300,000. So we're talking about a significant size population. And again, I believe the largest city, I believe it's even larger than Regina, which is the capital of Saskatchewan. Enough of Canadian civics lessons. Anyway, what has happened is that most will know that Sean Feucht has seen a number of his permits to hold public worship service in public venues. He's seen those permits first granted and then pulled back, taken away. And often the excuse given over canceling his permits is over public safety concerns. There's a concern, I guess, this is my assumption, is that city officials, in law enforcement, etc., are concerned that what I will call the left-wing lunatic fringe, that they are so mentally unbalanced that it could be dangerous to allow Sean Feucht and his team to conduct a worship service where typically, as I understand it, he plays music. He plays the guitar, they sing worship songs, and he has drawn the ire of a lot of Canadians. Like many, like probably most, I had absolutely zero. I never heard it a week or two ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever this story broke, prior to this story coming out, when I think it was in the province of Nova Scotia that they were the first one to ban his performance in a public park. Parks Canada pulled his permit. Prior to that, I had never heard of him. I had no idea who Sean Feucht is. And now, when you go on to CBC, CTV Global, he's often proclaimed as a MAGA supporter. And I tried to ascertain where does the association with Trump and the Make America Great movement come in. And apparently what happened was back in 2019, or I think it was 2019, when Trump was being impeached, which is basically an indictment, and then they held a trial in the Senate. When Trump was going through that whole impeachment kerfuffle, 50 Christian faith leaders went and met with Donald Trump, and apparently they laid hands on him and prayed for him. And that is why Sean Feucht is, that's at least one of the reasons why they stick this MAGA Trump supporter label onto him. I don't see anything out there expressing his political views per se, partisan wise, Democrat, Republican. I assume he's probably a Republican. I think that's a safe assumption given the options. You know, you had to choose Kamala or however you say her name, or Donald Trump. I would imagine that most evangelical professing Christians, the vast majority, would support Trump, especially in the United States. But I can't be 100% certain of that fact. I too am a Christian. I profess Jesus Christ as Lord. That is to say, I believe that Jesus Christ went to the cross, that he died, that he rose on the third day, and that through his atoning sacrifice on the cross, that I'm washed in the blood. I am reconciled to a perfect and holy God through the sacrifice of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That is a pretty common profession among those who will call themselves evangelical Christians. And Sean Feucht, I believe, is among that number, absolutely. And the other reasons why he's associated with the MAGA movement are because of his views on things such as gender. Donald Trump famously signed an executive order shortly after taking office, asserting reality is the way I put it. He basically recognized the fabric of reality that there are two genders. You have boys and girls, you have men and you have women, you have male, female. There are two genders. There is a very rare condition, less than 0.1% of individuals who are born, and it is called intersex. An intersex person is someone, a good example would be Swyer syndrome. It's spelled Swyer, Swyer syndrome. And what Swyer syndrome is, here's some basic biology class that you can verify this if you like, but most will know it, that every human being starts out female. All the eggs in a woman's ovaries, they're all X, female. Then when the sperm enters the egg, it is the sperm that either brings another X, and then you have XX female, or the sperm brings a Y, and you have XY male. And that for over 99.9% of the population, that's how things break down. However, in less than 0.1% of cases, there are instances of something called intersex, one of which Swyer syndrome. And what happens in Swyer syndrome is that the sperm entering the egg is Y. It brings the Y chromosome in. So we have XY. However, the Y chromosome is defective for whatever reason. I do not have a degree in biology, although I did take biology in school and I did take some science courses at the university level. I make no professions to be an expert by any in any way, shape, or form, but you can certainly verify everything I'm saying, and it can be easily checked. And if I get anything wrong, I invite you fill the comment section down below. This is how we learn, making mistakes. But I think I'm 99.9% sure I'm on solid ground with this. I've read a number of article studies on it with respect to Swyer syndrome. So the Y chromosome comes in, but for whatever reason, the Y chromosome is defective. And what happens is the child is born, and in utero, the child does not develop uh, male sexual organs, no penis, no testicles, no scrotum. And because the Y chromosome that the sperm brought in, because it was defective. And most will know, if anyone's had a child, I've had 3, I've been in the delivery room 3 times, and the way the gender of the child is determined is the doctor looks at the baby. If there's a penis, he says, boy, you had a boy. If there's a vagina, he says it's a girl. If the doctor's a woman, she says it's a girl. Again, there are only 2 genders. And when a child is born with Swyer syndrome, and they had a defective Y chromosome, so they're XY, but they don't have a penis, the doctor looks down and says, oh, it's a girl. They don't know that they don't do genetic testing on children right out of the womb. It's a simple visual check. And so what will happen is that child, parents take the child home. We've had a girl, we'll paint the room pink, we'll buy dolls, we'll do all the typical girly things, dress them in dresses, etc. And then what happens is the girl, who's knows no different, grows up as female, everyone thinking she's female. And then what happens is around the age of 12, 13, 14, when the first menstrual cycle is expected, it doesn't happen because there are no ovaries. And like I say, I've done a fair bit of reading on this. Apparently, in place of the ovaries, the child develops fatty tissue, and it is quite prone to malignancy, cancer. And so it's a medical issue. It's not a psychological issue. This is an anatomical, biological issue, medical issue. And that's intersex. That has nothing to do with this trans stuff. And getting it back on topic, Sean Feucht, like President Donald Trump, like Gordy Canuck here, like countless people, recognize that the basic fabric of reality, that there are two genders, leaving aside, the rare and very unfortunate individuals who have intersex conditions like the aforementioned Swire syndrome. So there's that gets him into hot water. The trans community, a guy getting playing dress up, who wants the world to affirm, and I feel like I'm a woman, so you have to accept me as a woman. No, I do not. I do not. I do not want to be mean to you, hateful, none of those things. It's got to be incredibly difficult for someone who is gender confused, who reality and the inner subjective feelings don't line up. I don't feel like it's a very unfortunate situation, and it's something that has existed for all of human history. This trans stuff is not new. It's been around forever. Fred Rogers, fame of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he famously dealt with the issue. He came out with a song, "Only boys can be the daddies. Only girls can be the mommies." It's true. You can check out his song. Many will know it. The trans issue gets him gets him associated with Trump. His view on Marxist critical race theory, and that's what it is. CRT, critical race theory, is a Marxist ideology that seeks to marginalize individuals by basically assigning their societal worth to the amount of melanin in their skin. And I repudiate, lots of people do, lots of academics do. It's a contentious view. Some people think Marxism is a good thing. Others view Marxist as dangerous and evil. I fall into the dangerous and evil camp. That's what my view on Karl Marx and Marxist ideology, Marxist Leninism. Um, I don't want this video to go too far off track, but I'll invite anyone, show me a case where a society or a country that adopted Marxist doctrines, where it thrived. Please, show me one. The people, you never see people having to crawl under barbed wire or get through walls or escaping from free market democratic countries. It's always the Marxist countries that people are trying to escape from. Uh, so he critical race theory. He doesn't. We're all God's children, irrespective, and no one's better and no one's worse than anyone else. And if you adhere to a Christian biblical view, you know that we're all broken, we're all fallen, we're all sinful creatures, and that the only thing that reconciles us to a perfect and holy God is the blood sacrifice of Jesus Christ on that lowly cross. So there are two strikes on putting Sean Feucht in the MAGA camp. What are the others? Oh yes, of course, abortion. Uh, in Canada, it is affirmed that anyone can have a woman or girl can access the abortion procedure at any time and for any reason whatsoever, right up including till moments before birth. There are no laws on the books whatsoever respecting abortion. The only question may be over access. A woman who or a girl who wishes to have an abortion can legally seek one out. It's not a crime, not for the individual seeking the procedure, nor for the medical professionals performing it. The only question might be a matter of access. Uh, is the is the individual able to find a medical professional willing, able to perform the procedure? And Sean Feucht is pro-life. He supports the right of the unborn children, um, and that gets him put into the MAGA camp because, of course, famously it's within the last year or so. Not sure. I think it happened before the election, but the famous seminal Supreme Court ruling Roe v. Wade, which made abortion legal in the United States, that was overturned recently within the last year and a half. I can't remember exactly when Roe v. Wade was overturned, but that has opened the door and has allowed states to place restrictions on abortion. But in Canada, abortion rights are pretty much sacrosanct. There are three countries in the world that have no laws, regarding abortion legal anytime, any reason. Three countries: Canada, North Korea, and China. We're in great company. Even what most people think of as progressive liberal democracies like Denmark, Sweden, Scandinavian countries, Western European countries, they all have laws on the books that restrict and abortion access in at least the later terms. Not in Canada. You can have midterm, late term. It's all legal. You don't like if the fetus, the unborn child, is going to be female and you wanted a boy. Now, in Canada, it's legal to have the child killed and to try again. Our parliament would not even vote. It didn't even come to a vote. A private member, I think his name was Woodrow, something like that. A Western Canadian Conservative member of Parliament put forth a motion simply asking for Canada to condemn the practice, which does take place, of aborting unborn female children simply because they're female. And this member of Parliament put forward a private member's bill that simply asked our Canadian Parliament to issue a proclamation condemning that, killing unborn children simply because, well, we wanted a boy, so we're going to kill the child because it's a girl. You talk about sacrificing your children to Moloch. And that's an Old Testament reference, and I'll leave it be for those who recognize it. So these are the reason why people have trouble with Sean Feucht. And I notice I have people coming in and out of the stream. You're welcome to join in either in the chat or right there. I think it will be the first comment. I'll put it up on the screen right now. You can join in. That's the link. All you have to do is click on it and you'll be backstage and I'll add you. And even if you disagree with me, as a matter of fact, that makes for more edifying content, more edifying conversation is when people are not in lockstep agreement, provided we can have a reasonable and mature discussion and we don't get into shouting matches. I'm going to share a video uh, of what happened when the mayor of Saskatoon went out to meet with protesters. Looked like they came out by the dozens, 300,000 people in the city of Saskatoon in the greater metropolitan area. and it looked like a very sparsely attended protest. But what they lacked in numbers, they made up with in vocality, or however you want to put it. They were loud in screaming, you have to take away the permit. And I'm going to show you the video, courtesy CTV News. And they tried to frame it as a large gathering. Yeah, okay. Large is a subjective term. I saw much bigger protests during COVID lockdowns. I participated in some in Toronto and Peterborough, and they always tried to paint us protesting COVID as small minority fringe, and yet they tried to build up these, what I'm going to use that unfortunate term, but it works. These are Karens, the Karen mentality, who figure if they scream and yell loud enough that the government will just back down to shut them up. That's what it comes down to. These individuals, predominantly female, protesting that Saskatoon is refusing to revoke Sean Feucht's permit. They're going to allow him to hold his concert, his worship event on August 21st on city-owned property. I don't know whether it's indoors or outdoors, but I assume it is outdoors. So let's, I'm just going to share a very small segment of this. I'm not the greatest at this streaming software. Let me see if I can find the share button. Where is it? No, not that one. Sorry about this. Like I say, my miserable, pathetic YouTube channel, and I finally got it to work. So let me expand my screen. So when I share, you get the full Monty. I'm sharing now properly. I don't see it sharing yet. There it is. And this is the protest. And the mayor is now, after they held their protest, the mayor, and I give her credit, this Cynthia Block, she went out and she was willing to talk with them and explain her rationale for why her and her council, the municipal leaders in the city of Saskatoon, have decided not to revoke the permit. But check these. Well, there's one individual in particular. She's on the far right of the screen. It's going to pan over to her. Check this out. Here we go.
On our community, can't you see? Can't you see?
After the final speaker finished up, Cynthia Block approached.
Oh, and I've got to put up with an ad. I'm sorry.
Final speaker finished up.
Can't you see? Can't you see? Can't you see?
After the final speaker finished up, Mayor Cynthia Block approached the podium as organizers packed up and left, but roughly half the crowd stayed back, with a vocal few shouting at Block
Oh, looks like my stream is stuck permanently. It says your browser has blocked your screen. Click the screen icon in your address bar to allow access. Solo layout. Let's see there. Hopefully I'm back. I apologize for the technical issues. As I said, forewarned is forearmed. I told you at the beginning, low production values, miserable, pathetic little YouTube channel. I like injecting my voice into the public discourse, and this is how I do it. I'm not controlled opposition, I can assure you, but as I've said many times, I have no issue with those who have that suspicion of anything. It's always good to be discerning and skeptical. Skepticism is good. I find people in Canada too often are just too blindly trusting, especially with anything that looks good. Well, it's the government. The government wouldn't lie. It's CBC News. CBC News wouldn't lie. Flash, newsflash, people. Yes, CBC does engage in misinformation, disinformation. So do our government officials. Propaganda. It's been around and it's still around. It's not just the purvey of bygone regimes in the old Soviet Union or, wartime, World War II Germany. No, propaganda is ubiquitous in our world. It is everywhere, at any rate. The mayor of Saskatoon, after enduring the screaming and the cancel the concert, it's not safe, and all this nonsense, explain to them the reason. And it is if you want to live in a free and democratic society, the reason, the rationale was 100% rock solid. She said that if they were to ban Sean Feucht, then what is to stop the next mayor and the next council from banning one of you, bullying you, and not allowing you the ability to express an idea? And this is where democracy, it's something of a litmus test to determine if you live in a democratic society, is whether or not views that popularity isn't a question. It's not a question of popularity. It's a right and wrong are hotly debated topics. And what happens is the Karen type individuals are so convinced that they have truth and right and the God they probably don't even believe in to be on their side, that they feel they have something of a divine right. That's a bit of an ironic term to call it a divine right for people who are largely, in a lot of cases, atheistic or agnostic, but they think they have the divine right to shut down anyone whose worldview disagrees with their own. And for what it is worth, this exists on the extreme ends of both the extreme right wing and the extreme left. And I oppose it regardless of its source, whether it's evangelical Christians who would seek to ban certain things that they don't like. Might want to ban certain songs from the radio or ban a pornographic store from a neighborhood. Now, should individuals have the right to protest if someone opens up a pornographic store in their neighborhood and they don't like it and they want to speak out against it? If they're peaceful, if they're law abiding and they want to wait, engage with people going into the store, talk to them peacefully, reasonably, then same with, it plays both ways. It plays both ways. And when you get onto the extreme edges of the far right movement or the extreme far left, both groups can have this idea that what I say has to go. My opinion is the right opinion. All other opinions are evil, and so they must be banned. And that's a slippery slope toward dictatorial fascist style governance. And that is something I do not want to see in this country. Now, some have made the point, they've argued, he can move to private venues. Why does he have to hold it in a public park? Why does he have to get a city permit? Our political institutions should not be engaging in these culture wars. Well, if that's the case, then the municipal buildings and our schools, etc., should take down the pride flags. They should take down the pride flags. We should, public libraries should no longer be having drag queen story time hours. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. At any rate, that's all I really had to say on the matter. I am pleased to see that Cynthia Block, again, that is her name, she is the mayor of Saskatoon. Not only did she have the backbone, the spine to stand up to these children, and that's what they are. They're basically they have the emotional maturity of 7, 8-year-olds, 12, 13-year-olds. We've all adults, and many will remember when we were kids. If you had, you can bully parents, and some parents are weak and they give in and they spoil their kids and give in to their every whim and desire. You're going to ruin my life if you don't let me go to that party. You're destroying me. I'm going to hurt myself. Oh my God. Okay, I'll let you go to the party. Some parents give in. Cynthia Block is not giving in to them. She is standing her ground, and she said, if I ban them, what's to stop another council from coming in, a new mayor getting elected, and banning you and abrogating your constitutional charter rights to freedom of expression? And the fact that Sean Feucht is an American is neither here nor there, because this isn't about his nationality or even his political allegiance. It's about ideas. And should his ideas be allowed to have a place in the public sphere, in the public square, in the ecclesia, to use a biblical term? When Jesus, famously, when he was sitting with his disciples outside of Caesarea Philippi, Jesus was sitting with his disciples and had a little discourse with them where he said, "Who is it that people say that I am?" And his disciples answered, and they said, some say that you are John the Baptist, some say that you're Elijah, some say you're a prophet. And then Jesus asked, that's what they say. Who do you say that I am? And that is where Peter famously said, you are the Christ, you are the Son of the living God, to which Jesus replied, that answer did not come from you yourself, but was revealed to you by my Father in heaven. And then Jesus went on to say, and he said, your name is Peter, but I'm going to call you Rock, Petros in Greek, because on this rock I will build my ecclesia, which is most commonly translated to church. On this rock I will build my church. The word that was translated from Greek to English as church, the original word is ecclesia, and ecclesia can equally be translated, do a search, go to Strong's Concordance, it can equally be translated as the public square. And incidentally, Caesarea Philippi, that they were looking upon as this discourse took place, is a city situated on a rock and with a large public square. And my interpretation of that is that the Christian faith is supposed to have a place in the public square. It is supposed to have a place in the public square. Christians are to proclaim, we are told to share the gospel good news, to evangelize, to not put our light under a bushel or under a bed, but to let it shine brightly in the public square. At the same time, would I would I be in favor of banning non-Christian messages? No, I would not. That is removing free will. If the Father grants us free will, if God Almighty, creator of all things, grants us free will, it would certainly be usurping my position to advocate that free will be taken away from others. And that free will gives us the choice to choose the right path or to choose the wrong one. That's the choice we have to put up with. This has been probably my least engaged with video yet, but I enjoyed it regardless. I'm glad to see that Sean Feucht, even though I don't know him or his message that well, I've never heard of him before. And I watched a little bit of the coverage of an event he held in Toronto indoors because his outdoor public permit, he had an outdoor venue through this, I believe the city of Toronto or maybe Vaughan, wherever the greater Toronto area, he had a permit to hold an outdoor public gathering, and the city or the municipal authorities yanked the permit. And then somewhere up, I believe, in and around the Toronto area airport, around Pearson International, an indoor venue, a church, stepped in, and an event was held indoors. But normally, Sean Feucht's events are out in God's beautiful creation. And I'll tell you something, I've attended now a fair number of worship services outdoors, and I love them. I love them. During COVID, in May of 2020, late May, early June of 2020, when the world was shut down, there was a church here in town that, after the George Floyd incident, resulted in all of a sudden large outdoor gatherings of hundreds and even thousands of people coming together, which, days earlier had been verboten. You get people snitching on you if you had two friends over in your backyard. Well, all of a sudden, after the George Floyd incident down in Minneapolis, all of a sudden, now it's okay to gather in large numbers. And the pastor at a local church in my small southeastern Ontario town of Brighton, Ontario, Glenn, pastor at a local church here, said, well, if they can have huge gatherings for BLM and George Floyd and all the rest, well, then we can have an outdoor worship service. And they have a large enough property. It's not huge, but it's good size. And they brought in a flatbed truck, and they put the worship team up, a podium, sound system, etc., and conducted outdoor worship. And I was not an attendee. I was not a member of that church, but it was the only game in town. And so I went, and we hugged, and we shook hands, and we did all the things that you were not supposed to do because we were told the science says you have to stay 6 feet apart from each other. And yet we now know, of course, it's been admitted to by public health officials, even sainted Anthony Fauci, the grand poobah of science, has admitted that there was never any science behind the 6-foot distancing rule. So, in point of fact, we at this small little church in Brighton, Ontario, we were following true science, not propagandistic, lying, misinformation science foisted upon us by the likes of Anthony Fauci. And in Canada here, we had Theresa Tam. Ontario, at that time, it was Dr. David Williams. Craziness that we all endured. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I know that the Christian, the gospel message is out of favor with a lot of people, but it's growing. And I don't think it's the dominant worldview in Canadian culture. It's not the dominant view, but it is growing in size. People are recognizing the lies, the denial of the basic fabric of reality. That's a woman. No, it's not. It's a guy. I can see the Adam's apple. He's got a 5 o'clock shadow. No, she has a 5 o'clock shadow. She has an Adam's apple. That's her penis, you transphobe. Well, no, there are two genders. And a lot of people are beginning to recognize the insanity of this world. And so they're gravitating to the message of John 3:16, for God so loved the world. They're gravitating to the message where Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. People are looking for truth in a world filled with lies. And I know that if you're my age or younger, it's very possible and probably even likely that you've never cracked open a Bible or never given it serious consideration, never attended a church service, only going into churches at wedding and funerals. And so there are a lot of misguided, prejudicial views that people hold toward what Christianity is about. And that's part of the reason I have this channel is I don't know. I think I come across as a reasonably intelligent individual, someone who's able to push nouns and verbs together in a reasonably coherent fashion and present a reasonable argument. I'm not going to say I'm not a master debater or anything like that. I don't know if you're aware, but the South Park just satirized American political commentator Charlie Kirk, and Eric Hartman kind of became the Charlie Kirk character, and he was referred to as a master debater. And they say it really fast to make it. His mother breaks into the room where he's been on the internet and he's arguing with people. And she said, I come in here expecting you to be asleep and I find you master debating. Give me a little more. It's funny. It's very funny. It's very well done. And what's amazing is Charlie Kirk, they're obviously trying to poke fun at him, satirize him, mock and ridicule, but he's taken in the exactly the type of fashion that it should be taken in. We live in a free and democratic society. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech, and that includes satire. And Charlie Kirk has handled it perfectly well. And we see the left-wing lunatic fringe when they're confronted with information they don't like, they blow a gasket. They have no sense of humor. But the lower you go down on the intelligence scale, unfortunately the level of sense of humor goes down with it. And when you're dealing with double-digit IQ types, they can't laugh at themselves, and they can't laugh at anything. But at any rate, I'm going to leave you as I do with many of my videos. I end with a blessing that comes from the book of Numbers. It's a blessing that Aaron spoke over God's covenant chosen people. Moses received the words from God and then gave the words to Aaron, and Aaron spoke them over the Israelites. And the words are these: May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and make his face to shine upon you. And may the Lord God, creator of all things, may he grant you peace. That's the end of my video. We'll be under an hour tonight. If you stuck around to the end and you enjoyed the content, I'd love to hear your comments. And again, likes are always appreciated, as are subscriptions. If you subscribe, the more subscribers I get, I forget, I'm somewhere around 1,200 or so. The more you get, the more exposure you get. And I find voices such as my own have a hard time gaining traction in the public sphere, in the public marketplace, in the public square, in the ecclesia. It's hard because the Googles, the Metas, the government officials, there's a predominating narrative that they want to push. And when you dare push back against it, even in a miserable, pathetic fashion such as my own, low production values and such, no production values really, it can be throttled. And the only way around that is if individuals help out. So the likes, apparently, they boost the algorithms to have your content shared out a little more. And subscriptions, likewise, help boost your visibility. And then there's the share button. You're welcome to hit that share button. And I'll end my video there. God bless, and we'll see you again. I'm trying to get more content out. It's hard during the summer. I'm very busy, but it's easier when there are interesting things happening in the news. And it seems that's happening now. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, banning hiking. Will that come west? This whole Sean Feucht business. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of other things to discuss. We have the by-election coming up. I think it's not this Monday, but it's a week tomorrow. Pierre Poilievre should, I expect, be re-entering, should be elected as an Alberta area MP, and that will allow him to enter the House of Commons and to reassume his a more active role in leading Her Majesty's, or rather His Majesty's, loyal official opposition. Anyway, I'm prattling. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all again. And again, fill the comment field. I always like that. Cheers.